What's going on YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be ranking the top 10 players remaining in the 2023 NBA playoffs. Do keep in mind that if I leave anyone off of the top 10 or if I rank someone too high or too low, it's not because they're not deserving, but because the talent league-wide is just fucking stacked and the difference between rankings is overall very, very thin. And so it was very hard for me to sort out a lot of these rankings. So overall, look, I'll be basing my rankings off of three things. Firstly, the player's overall skill set, how good they are today and for the 2023 NBA playoffs, not in 5 years time, not when they were in their peak if that was in the past, but today. Secondly, who do I want leading my team with the game or series on the line? So if you guys do enjoy the video, please do like and subscribe to my channel, as I will really appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching. But before we get into the top 10, I gotta show some love to some of the honorable mentions. First up, I've got James Harden, who's one of the top number 2 options in the entire league, and even if he's not Houston James Harden anymore, this James Harden, which is, let's say 70 to 80% of Houston Harden, is still fucking lethal. He led the league in assists this season at 10.8 per game, and although you can't rely on it as much, he still has that takeover ability, and he showcased that in game 1 against my Boston Celtics, dropping 45 points, 6 assists, and 7 threes in a game 1 win over the Celtics on the road without Embiid. Next up, I've got Jamal Murray. And man, playoff Jamal Murray is legit, and I have to admit that myself, alongside many others, have forgotten how good this guy truly is until he reminded everyone again these playoffs. So he's a weapon, but he just falls short of the top 10. And lastly, I've got Jalen Brunson as an honorable mention, who went from being overpaid when he was signed by the Knicks in the offseason to what is now looking like one of the best contracts in the league very, very quickly. He's playoff proven, he plays with so much poise, and is by far the most important player on the Knicks, and they'll only go as far as Brunson takes them. So those are my 3 honorable mentions. Might have missed out a guy or two, but let's get into the top 10. At number 10, I've got my boy, Jaylen Brown. Look, JB is as good a number 2 option as you'll get league-wide, who's more than capable of shouldering the offensive burden himself when Jayson Tatum is cold, whilst also playing excellent defense. His turnovers and lack of playmaking continues to be an issue, but personally, I'm more concerned with Joe Mazzulla's reluctance to drop plays for Jaylen Brown in the 4th quarter, even during times when he's got the hot hand and Tatum is ice cold. More often than not, Brown is being relegated to a corner spot-up shooter, which he's far too good for, but obviously that's on the coaching, that's on perhaps even Jayson Tatum and the rest of the guys. I've got JB at number 10. At number 9, I've got Devin Booker. Look, Book is playing amazing in the playoffs so far, thriving both as the second option offensively to KD, as well as doing very well running backup point guard duties. And I will be interested to see how he kind of continues to do so in games 3, 4, and 5, which CP3 is expected to miss. Now, I do have him ranked a little lower than what some people may like, just because I think he's thriving more so with the defensive attention that's going to KD. And if I'm being honest, he's just not the type of guy that I'd trust with the game on the line. And so at number 8, I've got Anthony Davis, who, look, he's a very, very hard player to rank just because of how inconsistent he can be. But man, when AD is locked in, he is a top 5 player in the NBA and arguably the best 2-way player in the entire league. The issue is that he can play soft as fuck sometimes, and that's just really what's holding him back from being the best version of AD that we've seen since the bubble. I mean, you look at him today, he dropped 30 points, 23 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4 blocks in game 1 against the Golden State Warriors. But then in the first round, he also laid an egg when he got outplayed by Xavier Tillman. So with AD, I feel like the highs are very high, but the lows are also very, very low. And as great as he is, similar to Devin Booker, I just don't think he's that guy that can propel a team, lead a team, say, you know, give me the ball, get the fuck out of my way, I'm going to win this game for us. So I've got AD at number 8. At number 7, I've got Jimmy Butler, who, if I needed someone to carry a team full of bums, and I mean, let's say someone had to carry myself and a bunch of random blokes off the street to put up a fight against the 70-3-9 Warriors, Jimmy G Buckets is one of, if not the first guy I'd choose. The Heat had no business beating the Bucks at full strength, let alone when both Tyler Hero and Victor Oladipo went down. Yet, Butler took care of the number 1 seed in just 5 games in very convincing fashion. He just hasn't been surrounded with good enough teams to win a championship. The bubble was as close as he got, and even then, the Heat overachieved. And when I look at it like this, I think AD is a more impactful player on the fact that he's a big man and he can impact the defensive end of the floor much more than Jimmy Butler can. But unlike AD, Jimmy Butler, he's got that dog in him, man. Like, AD doesn't have that. And so with all due respect to AD, he might be the better overall player, but if I want someone going into the playoffs with Game 7 on the line, I need someone to drop 30, 40, 50 points for me. I'm choosing Jimmy Butler any day of the week. At number 6, I've got LeBron James, who, I don't know if I'm living in the past, but he's a very, very tough player to rank. He's not playing as well as a Jaylen Brown, Devin Booker, or even Jimmy Butler these playoffs. But look, back to the point with Jimmy Butler. With 5 minutes to go into Game 7 of the NBA Finals, let's say, I'd rather have LeBron leading my team just over just about anyone else on this list, given his leadership and playoff experience. He's also, look, he's yet to have a breakout game these playoffs, with 28 points being his playoff high this year in 7 games. And, you know, since his foot injury, he hasn't really looked the same. But, you know, we have to give a pass. This is LeBron fucking James, man. Like, he's not as good. He may not be as good as a lot of these guys on the list that I've got ranked, you know, above or below him. But there's just there's not many people I'll trust more than him with the game or series on the line. So I have to give credit where credit is due. However, with that being said, I do also have to find balance between, you know, leadership, playoff experience, as well as how good of a player he is today. Because otherwise, guys like CP3 and PJ Tucker would be on this list. And we do, like I mentioned, LeBron has declined a bit, and defensively, he's almost non-existent unless he's locked in, which is very rare. And so I've got him at number 6, but look, he's a very tough player to rank. You can put him higher, you can put him lower. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. But kicking things off in the top 5, I've got Jayson Tatum, who I think Tatum is one of, if not the best two-way wing in the league right now, but his lack of consistency is very frustrating coming from a Celtics fan, and he hasn't quite figured out how to impact the game in other ways when his shot isn't falling, even though he has showcased that ability in the past. You know, look no further than Game 1 of last year's NBA Finals, when his shot just wasn't falling, but he dropped 13 assists to just 2 turnovers. But the issue is, he falls in love with this sidestep 3 too often, especially when his shot isn't falling, and as a result, it can do the team more harm than good. But with that being said, you know, I feel like I'm just talking too much shit on, you know, one of, if not my favorite player right now. Tatum is arguably the best small forward in the league today, and just became the first Celtic to ever average 30 points per game. He's as well-rounded as a player as they come. You know, he's elite offensively, he's elite defensively, and he's doing this at just 19 years of age. So I've got Jayson Tatum at number 5. At number 4, give me Nikola Jokic. Nobody in this list shoulders the offensive burden that Jokic does, except for probably Steph Curry, if so. He literally does everything offensively. He's already the greatest passing big man to ever step on the basketball floor. He has a great touch around the rim, excellent footwork in the post, and is a very, very good three-point shooter as well. Now, we all know that Jokic has his defensive shortcomings, but they've quietly turned things around in the playoffs. The Nuggets overall are coming in at number 4 in defensive rating this postseason, and most importantly, the Nuggets are a completely different team with him on and off the floor. It's not an exaggeration to say that the Nuggets are an elite team with Jokic on the floor, whilst they look like the 7-59 Bobcats without him. He had a plus 21.9 net rating in the regular season, and if you look at all the bench lineups that the Nuggets run, which were led by very good players in, you know, Jamal Murray, KCP, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., they were trash. And so, yeah, look, Jokic is number 4. At number 3, I've got the MVP, Joel Embiid. Very, very well deserved coming from a Celtics fan. He had the best season of his career. And right now, for the playoffs, I do have him over Jokic, assuming full health, obviously. Because we all know defense wins championships. And although the Nuggets, like I've mentioned, they've flipped the switch all of a sudden defensively, Jokic is no Embiid. He can't anchor a defense the way Embiid can. And although Jokic is better offensively, we all know that Embiid is probably a more dominant scorer. He can get you 30, 40, 50 points if you need him to. He's excellent at drawing fouls, even though the way he does it is pretty shitty. He's a great mid-range scorer. He's dominant in the paint. And obviously, like I mentioned, defensively, he can anchor your defense, right? And so, assuming full health, I have Embiid over Jokic. He just actually returned to Game 2, which was to my surprise. But yeah, look, overall, I think he falls a little bit short of the top 2, but you can't really go wrong with the most dominant big man in the NBA right now. So I've got him at number 3. At number 2, I've got Kevin Durant. Look, can KD be the bus driver on a championship team? Right now, I'm not so sure if I'm being 100% honest, despite how talented this guy is. The Suns are currently down 0-2 against the Nuggets, despite KD having Devin Booker as his number 2 guy, one of the greatest point guards of all time setting the table for him, a great head coach, and a lot of other solid complementary pieces, at least on paper, even if their bench is dog shit. Like, on paper, this is a great team. You got surrounding pieces like DeAndre Ayton, Terrence Ross, TJ Warren, you know, Damian Lee, like, he might be known for riding the bench, but he can shoot the ball as well. Like, they've got a lot of very good players on paper, but it's just not working. And originally, I did have KD at number 1 on this list, but for me, he's trending downwards just because he hasn't shown that he can be that guy leading a championship team to victory. But obviously, when you look at his talent as a player, there's no doubting his talent overall, and that's why I still have him at number 2. But yeah, look, there are concerns for me. I don't know. Like, I originally predicted that the Suns would get the win over the Nuggets in about 6 games or so in pretty convincing fashion. And now that CP3 is missing games 3 to 5, I don't know if they're going to win another game. Unless KD steps the fuck up, which I don't know if he will, but hey, it is what it is. At number 1, I've got Steph Curry. And after seeing Steph Curry single-handedly take over and will the Warriors to a Game 7 road win in Sacramento, I just had to put him at number 1. You know, I thought to myself, can KD do that? Even though he's just as talented, if not more physically gifted than Steph Curry. And the answer was probably not. So I got to put Steph at number 1, especially because he is the Warriors offense, whereas KD has a lot of great supporting pieces, right? And Steph Curry owns an insane plus 35.1 net rating in the 2023 playoffs. Golden State is a plus 8.2 with Curry on the floor and a negative 26.9 with him off. Not even Nikola Jokic, who's always got crazy on-off splits, can top that. And like I mentioned, look, when I look at KD versus Curry, I think KD is probably the better overall player just because of his size and length, and you know, he's much more superior on the defensive end of the floor. But when I look at which player do I fear more going into a game, is it KD or Steph Curry? For me, as a Celtics fan, it's Steph Curry. And I think a lot of people, you know, regardless of who they support, would agree with that as well. And so that is something I do take into consideration in these rankings. And so that's why I've got Steph Curry number 1. But look, that's my top 10 players remaining in the NBA playoffs. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Hey, you guys might not agree with me. You might agree with me. I don't know, but drop your thoughts. Let's have a discussion. Be sure to like and subscribe to stay tuned for more NBA content. Thank you guys for watching very, very much, and I'll see you guys in the next one.